morning. Thank you for being here. Today we are here to learn more about business planning and making our business a success with our team. We have with us today Doug Ingram. Doug is with Capstone Financial. He's also chair of our Diplomats, and they are joining forces with our Small Business Committee. And as chair of the Small Business Committee, I would like to invite everyone to join our committee or Doug's, because we need you and your expertise. Today's seminar, as I said, is about business planning. Glad to have all of you present and all of you that are joining us online, and those of you that will see this program later. All right, let's turn it over to Doug.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I want to extend a thanks to the Chamber as well for giving us this opportunity today. And as Joe mentioned, our presentation today is entitled Business Planning with Your Professional Team, and it's a visual blueprint for success. Tell you a little bit about myself. So I am chairperson for the Diplomat, and as I mentioned, the founder and president of the Capstone Financial Group. Capstone Financial is actually a comprehensive financial planning firm. We have offices here in Gulf Shores, Mobile, and also in Birmingham. We do work with individuals, but our expertise and what we do a lot of is work with the small business community. And that's actually my background. Prior to this career, my father and I had a business for 20 some odd plus years, which still exists with our name on it, with locations in Birmingham and Mobile. So some of what we'll be going through and sharing today is actually from personal experience. But the intent of this presentation, again, is really just to provide a blueprint or say a process to maybe help all of us in the business community have more opportunity of being successful in our businesses. Now, in my line of work, before I get started, I do have to present some disclosures out there, and you'll see it here on the board. But bottom line is just to remember that myself and Oreo, we're not attorneys, we're not accountants, we're not tax professionals. So really the information that's being shared today here is for educational purposes, and we'll hope you'll take that information and use it to maybe help your business grow. All right, a lot of times in business, and I know this in my background, we're all faced with a lot of questions and sometimes an uncertainty in businesses. We as business owners, we all wear a lot of hats, and we're really responsible for the startup, the day-to-day operations of the business, and really what takes place from day to day. We have to face a myriad of decisions each and every day. There's constant decisions about our finances, decisions about how we're going to fund that business, where the most appropriate funds or sources for those funds might be. We have to make decisions day in, day out about the cash flow of our business, and how do we continue to acquire assets are equally important to the business growth. We also have to face decisions about the general structure of the business, different structures, or whether it's a sole proprietorship, a general partnership, a C Corp, or an S Corp. They all have different ramifications, and we need to make sure that we have the right business structure. Therefore, we must rely on our other business professionals to help us in those decision-making processes. We also have to make a lot of tough decisions sometimes about manpower. Personnel, the people that work for us, they are our greatest asset. And that's what keeps the business going. So a business owner has to make decisions day in, day out on how to recruit, reward, and retain those employees. People are our most valuable asset in a business. What I want to kind of, present today is in any business, it's a good idea, to have a process, to have that blueprint, a visual map of where you're going. You've got to have it day in, day out, and if you're a new startup business, having a business plan in place from day one is so important. And Yo's going to share more about that in detail in here in just a moment. But in growing two different businesses and working with business owners today, I like to think about it as visual mapping. I am a visual learner, so I have to see things in a visual way, and it kind of sets a tone for me. If I can see a graphic or look at something in a visual way, it really sticks. So today, think about architectural work, think about a process, think about a blueprint. So a process, right from Webster's. What is a process? You need one in your business. A process is a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. It's a continuous action. It's an operation or a series of changes that take place in a definite manner. So, a continuous action. If you have a business plan, it's growing, it's moving at all times. It's got to be flexible. It has to be a plan that is continuous and flexible in nature. Now, a lot of us in this community, we know Andy Andrews. I just love Andy and his books. But a while back, I was reading the Notice of Returns again, and one of my favorite characters in Andy's books, of course, is Jones. Okay? In his book, he's got a quote that I want to share with you. So Jones is talking to an individual, trying to give them some direction. And Jones says, he's talking about principle. A principled process, one that produces as it's intended every single time, can be created only when the final results is clearly defined. I'm saying only that the end result must be determined before an effective process can be put in place to achieve the result. However, once that process is in place, one has to only adhere to that process, those daily steps that lead inevitably to the final result. So process, think about it. You have to have a goal and objective in mind, and you need to have the end in mind. So, I'm going to share with you here in just a moment a visual process that we actually use in the Capstone Financial Group, and it is a graphic. But again, I want you to think about a blueprint, building a structure. So we look along our beautiful coastline, we see all these high-rise and beautiful structures. They're there and they will last because from the beginning to the end, somebody had a good plan in mind. And they started out with a good solid foundation. And in a business, that foundation is your business plan. Now I'm going to quickly share with you just a graphic. This is our logo with Capstone Financial, and we call it the Capstone Way. And the reality is the graphic itself, that building, is a process to us. Each and every block, step, and stone in that logo represents a story or a process that a business owner and even individuals can go through to be more successful in a financial way. So with any structure, you start with a blueprint, and the very first thing that the work crew works on when they show up is the foundation. And the foundation is really having a good business plan. The business plan itself is the foundation, and Yo's going to talk about that in more detail in here in just a moment. But a business plan really has two purposes. First and foremost, it should be used to help you run your company in a more cohesive way. It is your visual map. It is the blueprint for building your business. By reviewing that blueprint each and every day in your marketing, your sales, and your manufacturing, your website, your social media, whatever it may be, your likelihood of success is greatly improved. A business plan is your management tool, and it's there to be referred to on a regular basis. And today's presentation is really to give you some insight of how to utilize other professionals in your work site to help you along that way. In your business plan, like Jones mentioned in the final, Notice of Returns, that plan needs to have the end in mind. And I'll be talking to you about that in a little more detail here in just a moment. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Yo, and she's going to talk to you more about the business plan.
Just stay with me.
Okay.
Okay, all right. The business plan, hey, it's good to see y'all. I was over here in the corner. The business plan, all of us think of that as some faraway thing, but the actual thing is that the business plan is as different and as unique as the way you run a business. So a lot of times someone goes, oh, you just gave me this outline, you just gave me this whatever, and that doesn't pertain to my business. Your plan is as unique to your business as your thumbprint. and to develop a plan of action as to how you would run your business is the most important thing that you can do for not only your financial success, but success in what you want to achieve with this business. The reason you went into business to begin with. If someone laid out your values, how are you going to carry those values out in your business if you don't have a plan? The other thing is, for financial reasons, for you personally, you need to set the goals of what you want to achieve financially, and the only way to get those financial goals is through a plan. Also with your financing, if you decide that you need some type of financing, and let me quote our current SBA director, she said, if you need to borrow money, you need to do it before you need it. Okay, all small businesses need to realize that that is the bottom line. But how are you going to know that you're going to need a loan in the future if you do not have a plan of action for your finances? So your pro forma, your projections, if you will, on sales and cost. So that is an integral part. Most of the time we just want to write down what we want to achieve, like in our management or retaining our employees. But the truth of the matter is, the guts of that business plan are those financials that are there as a plan. Are they going to change? Yes, they are. All plans change. Plans of a blueprint for building a building change every day. They're called change orders. So this is not I did it, check it off my list. It is that process that Doug's been talking about.
Okay. And we believe that to be successful, you've got to have the right team in place. TEAM. Together, everybody accomplishes more. So the success of business owners usually can be credited to their having a well-documented business plan, but also they've got to have the right team in place. What I've learned in my time, as well as working with small business owners today, you have got to effectively partner with other business professionals to be successful. There's a book out there that's one of my favorite. I don't know if you ever heard about this or not, but the name of the book is The Richest Man Who Ever Lived. It's written by Stephen Scott. Stephen Scott has a very interesting background and business success story in itself. Right out of college, Stephen Scott was one of the top of his class in marketing. But Stephen went through about 10 different jobs in a short time frame because his employers would never let him spread his wings. He just happened to be the great friend or a family friend of Gary Smalley, who is actually one of the most successful couples coaches, in the nation. And Gary gave him some advice. He said, Stephen, if you want to be successful, you've got to learn to effectively partner, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. He asked Stephen, who is the most successful or wealthiest man that's ever lived? And that person was King Solomon. Okay? King Solomon can accredit his success to day in, day out processes. And basically, Gary Smalley gave Stephen the idea of reading the book of Proverbs, and each and every day just making one little note of something that came out of Proverbs about managing a business. Stephen did that. What you may not know is Stephen is basically the father of the infomercial age. Okay? Everybody knows back in the day when Suzanne Summers had her exercise equipment, you had, what's the little curly-headed guy that did the exercises? Richard Simmons.
Yes.
Okay, and then Chuck Norris. All of those commercials, and even to this day, are products from Stephen Scott, and that's how he got his start. He learned to effectively partner, and when you read this book, it's going to talk to you or give you guidance about how to effectively partner in your business. This right here is the 4 cornerstones of any successful business. You as a business owner, whether you're a startup or a business owner of some time, you need to maintain relationships with your legal advisor. You need to maintain a relationship with an accountant and a tax specialist, a business banker, and you've got to have some expertise from the property and casualty field. So find that right agency that you can work with out there. So with that, we're going to go through a process, and Yo is going to talk to us today about the importance of having a legal advisor relationship.
That's right. And we've got legal counsel in the room with us today. The idea that I want to stress is that sometimes whenever we are looking at legal advisor for our business, we tend to want to go to the same legal advice for our personal. And we have, just like in your business, you're specialized in an area, so are attorneys and legal advisors. They are specialized in areas to assist you. So you need to choose not only the one that is capable and has the ability and the expertise in the area that you need, but also one that has your values. I met with an attorney one time. I wanted to get something done whenever I was in Hoover, and I said, I want to do this, this, and this. And the guy said, I'll make it as legal as possible. And I went, what? What do you mean legal as possible? And obviously I had not stressed my values to him. The reason I was there was exactly that reason. I never wanted to be in the gray to begin with. So stressing your values with that legal advisor as to what you want to achieve and where you're going and how you want to get there. Keeping the end in mind, but letting them know that on the way, that pathway, the pathway to getting to the end in mind, the journey, if you will, has to be value-based, and it's your values of what you want to do. Okay, so legal advisor has to be a part of that team and that major cornerstone. It is not, someone told me the other day, said, you're making this hard, and I'm like, I'm not making this hard. This is not about your IQ. This is about having other people in your life, because there's no way that one person knows everything about a business. Okay?
And two, I want to plug in here, it's the Diplomats team intent to provide ongoing seminars. So here today with us is Chris Anderson, who is part of the Diplomat team.
Yes.
In just a few months, he'll have an opportunity to share with you the legal aspects of good business planning. So as we go through the coming months, there are going to be more and more seminars and presentations along these lines that can help you out. The next cornerstone that we think is very important is having that right accountant or that perfect tax advisor for your business, and Yo will elaborate on that just a bit as well.
Accountants, a lot of time we want to press the button at the end of the year and send them our financials, and then we think they put those into some kind of little box, and out of the box determines if we made a profit or not and how much tax we owe. And we think that is exactly what they're supposed to do. The accountant should be an integral part of your decision making. With the accountant, we have compliance, like with taxes, but we also have accountants that can help you with growth strategies to accomplish what you want to accomplish financially, as well as legally and structurally with your business, working with the other partners to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Okay. And yet another plug for the Diplomat team. We are in need of a great accountant or a tax professional. So anybody that's out there that wants to join the team, we would welcome you to get involved. The next individual or entity we think is very important of you having a relationship with is your business banker. And while I'm on this, I'll let you know that Travis Youngblood, she's a Diplomat team member and she's in the banking system. And she will actually be having an opportunity to make a presentation here in the near future as well. But with that, again, Yo will give you some insight about the importance of business banker relationships.
I think the operative word there is a business banker. I'll just give you a quick story. The way the Small Business Development Center works, a lot of times we help you package your financials and to prepare you for a loan. So in one particular case, we had a client and we sent that package, if you will, with the client's permission to 3 different banks. The particular bank that they were personally banking with was not sent one. And they said, we want them included. We did that. 3 banks that we sent them to proposed on the loan. The 4th bank, their personal banker, did not propose. The client was distraught. And we were like, why are you distraught? What is this that's going on? Well, I've been banking with them. Yes, on your personal banking. You chose them based on a list, on a services, on their values, on what they offer for your personal financials. But that's not necessarily, as you move into the business world and also as your needs increase, that may not be the same institution that has the same products for your needs during that time. So I think the operative word there is that you need to choose a banker based on what you're trying to accomplish and where you want to go.
And along those lines, the family business I mentioned to you earlier was Ingram Equipment, and what I can share with you, Ingram Equipment, which has now been in business for 40 plus years, still operating as Ingram Equipment, we're no longer there, but that business would not have made it without professional banker relationships. So vitally important. Okay. One of the next important relationships in any business is to have a strong and an ongoing relationship with a property and casualty expert. So in the room with us again today is Lindsay Holmes, and she's with All Southern Insurance, and she'll be making a presentation in the future. But just a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Lindsay to have a refresher. In my line of work today, there's not a big need for me personally in property and casualty to the extent of other business owners, but I'm going to share with you a few things that is so vitally important for you to have in place in your business as it relates to property and casualty insurance. Bottom line is, P&C agency experts are there to protect your assets. They're there to protect you from potential risk in your business. Through their advice, and yes, through specially designed products, aka insurance, they protect your assets. Okay? So, what's important in your business as far as the products and the advice? Commercial general liability, very important. Commercial general liability, it's a slip and fall protection. I am a visual learner, so I have to see things in a visual way, and it kind of sets a tone for me. If I can see a graphic or look at something in a visual way, it really sticks. So today, think about architectural work, think about a process, think about a blueprint. So a process, right from Webster's. What is a process? You need one in your business. A process is a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. It's a continuous action. It's an operation or a series of changes that take place in a definite manner. So, a continuous action. If you have a business plan, it's growing, it's moving at all times. It's got to be flexible. It has to be a plan that is continuous and flexible in nature. Now, a lot of us in this community, we know Andy Andrews. I just love Andy and his books. But a while back, I was reading the Notice of Returns again, and one of my favorite characters in Andy's books, of course, is Jones. Okay? In his book, he's got a quote that I want to share with you. So Jones is talking to an individual, trying to give them some direction. And Jones says, he's talking about principle. A principled process, one that produces as it's intended every single time, can be created only when the final result is clearly defined. I'm saying only that the end result must be determined before an effective process can be put in place to achieve the result. However, once that process is in place, one has to only adhere to that process, those daily steps that lead inevitably to the final result. So process, think about it. You have to have a goal and objective in mind, and you need to have the end in mind. So, I'm going to share with you here in just a moment a visual process that we actually use in the Capstone Financial Group, and it is a graphic. But again, I want you to think about a blueprint, building a structure. So we look along our beautiful coastline, we see all these high-rise and beautiful structures. They're there and they will last because from the beginning to the end, somebody had a good plan in mind. And they started out with a good solid foundation. And in a business, that foundation is your business plan. Now I'm going to quickly share with you just a graphic. This is our logo with Capstone Financial, and we call it the Capstone Way. And the reality is the graphic itself, that building, is a process to us. Each and every block, step, and stone in that logo represents a story or a process that a business owner and even individuals can go through to be more successful in a financial way. So with any structure, you start with a blueprint, and the very first thing that the work crew works on when they show up is the foundation. And the foundation is really having a good business plan. The business plan itself is a foundation, and Yo's going to talk about that in more detail in here in just a moment. But a business plan really has two purposes. First and foremost, it should be used to help run your company in a more cohesive way. It is your visual map. It is the blueprint for building your business. By reviewing that blueprint each and every day in your marketing, your sales, and your manufacturing, your website, your social media, whatever it may be, your likelihood of success is greatly improved. A business plan is your management tool, and it's there to be referred to on a regular basis. And today's presentation is really to give you some insight of how to utilize other professionals in your work site to help you along that way. In your business plan, like Jones mentioned in the final, notice of returns, that plan needs to have the end in mind. And I'll be talking to you about that in a little more detail in here in just a moment. So with that, I want to turn it over to Yo, and she's going to talk to you more about the business plan.
The business plan, hey, it's good to see y'all. I was over here in the corner. The business plan, all of us think of that as some faraway thing, but the actual thing is that the business plan is as different and as unique as the way you run a business. So a lot of times someone goes, oh, you just gave me this outline, you just gave me this whatever, and that doesn't pertain to my business. Your plan is as unique to your business as your thumbprint. And to develop a plan of action as to how you would run your business is the most important thing that you can do for not only your financial success, but success in what you want to achieve with this business. The reason you went into business to begin with. If someone laid out your values, how are you going to carry those values out in your business if you don't have a plan? The other thing is, for financial reasons, for you personally, you need to set the goals of what you want to achieve financially, and the only way to get those financial goals is through a plan. Also with your financing, if you decide that you need some type of financing, and let me quote our current SBA director, she said, if you need to borrow money, you need to do it before you need it. Okay, all small businesses need to realize that that is the bottom line. But how are you going to know that you're going to need a loan in the future if you do not have a plan of action for your finances? So your pro forma, your projections, if you will, on sales and costs. So that is an integral part. Most of the time we just want to write down what we want to achieve, like in our management or in retaining our employees. But the truth of the matter is, the guts of that business plan are those financials that are there as a plan. Are they going to change? Yes, they are. All plans change. Plans of a blueprint for building a building change every day. They're called change orders. So this is not I did it, check it off my list. It is that process that Doug's been talking about.
Okay. And we believe that to be successful, you've got to have the right team in place. TEAM. Together, everybody accomplishes more. So the success of business owners usually can be credited to their having a well-documented business plan, but also they've got to have the right team in place. What I've learned in my time, as well as working with small business owners today, you have got to effectively partner with other business professionals to be successful. There's a book out there that's one of my favorite. I don't know if you've ever heard about this or not, but the name of the book is The Richest Man Who Ever Lived. It's written by Stephen Scott. Stephen Scott has a very interesting background and business success story in itself. Right out of college, Stephen Scott was one of the top of his class in marketing. But Stephen went through about 10 different jobs in a short time frame because his employers would never let him spread his wings. He just happened to be the great friend or a family friend of Gary Smalley, who is actually one of the most successful couples coaches, in the nation. And Gary gave him some advice. He said, Scott, or Stephen, if you want to be successful, you've got to learn to effectively partner, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. He asked Stephen, who is the most successful or wealthiest man that's ever lived? And that person was King Solomon. Okay? King Solomon can accredit his success to day in, day out processes. And basically, Gary Smalley gave Stephen the idea of reading the book of Proverbs and each and every day just making one little note of something that came out of Proverbs about managing a business. Stephen did that. What you may not know is Stephen is basically the father of the infomercial age. Okay? Everybody knows back in the day when Suzanne Summers had her exercise equipment, you had, what's the little curly-headed guy that did the exercises? Richard Simmons.
Yes.
Okay, and then Chuck Norris. All of those commercials, and even to this day, are products from Stephen Scott, and that's how he got his start. He learned to effectively partner, and when you read this book, it's going to talk to you or give you guidance about how to effectively partner in your business. This right here is the 4 cornerstones of any successful business. You as a business owner, whether you're a startup or a business owner of some time, you need to maintain relationships with your legal advisor. You need to maintain a relationship with an accountant, a tax specialist, a business banker, and you've got to have some expertise from the property and casualty field. So find that right agency that you can work with out there. So with that, we're going to go through a process, and Yo is going to talk to us today about the importance of having a legal advisor relationship.
That's right. And we've got legal counsel in the room with us today. The idea that I want to stress is that sometimes whenever we are looking at legal advisor for our business, we tend to want to go to the same legal advice for our personal. And we have, just like in your business, you're specialized in an area, so are attorneys and legal advisors. They are specialized in areas to assist you. So you need to choose not only the one that is capable and has the ability and the expertise in the area that you need, but also one that has your values. I met with an attorney one time. I wanted to get something done whenever I was in Hoover, and I said, I want to do this, this, and this. And the guy said, I'll make it as legal as possible. And I went, what? What do you mean legal as possible? And obviously I had not stressed my values to him. The reason I was there was exactly that reason. I never wanted to be in the gray to begin with. So stressing your values with that legal advisor as to what you want to achieve and where you're going and how you want to get there. Keeping the end in mind, but letting them know that on the way, that pathway, the pathway to getting to the end in mind, the journey, if you will, has to be value-based, and it's your values of what you want to do. Okay, so legal advisor has to be a part of that team and that major cornerstone. It is not, someone told me the other day, said, you're making this hard. And I'm like, I'm not making this hard. This is not about your IQ. This is about having other people in your life, because there's no way that one person knows everything about a business. Okay?
And two, I want to plug in here, it's the Diplomats team intent to provide ongoing seminars. So here today with us is Chris Anderson, who is part of the Diplomat team.
Yes.
In just a few months, he'll have an opportunity to share with you the legal aspects of good business planning. So as we go through the coming months, there are going to be more and more seminars and presentations along these lines that can help you out. The next cornerstone that we think is very important is having that right accountant or that perfect tax advisor for your business. And Yo will elaborate on that just a bit as well.
Accountants, a lot of time we want to press the button at the end of the year and send them our financials, and then we think they put those into some kind of little box, and out of the box determines if we made a profit or not and how much tax we owe. And we think that is exactly what they're supposed to do. The accountant should be an integral part of your decision making. With the accountant, we have compliance, like with taxes, but we also have accountants that can help you with growth strategies to accomplish what you want to accomplish financially as well as legally and structurally with your business, working with the other partners to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Okay. And yet another plug for the Diplomat team. We are in need of a great accountant or a tax professional. So anybody that's out there that wants to join the team, we would welcome you to get involved. The next individual or entity we think is very important of you having a relationship with is your business banker. And while I'm on this, I'll let you know that Travis Youngblood, she's a Diplomat team member and she's in the banking system. And she will actually be having an opportunity to make a presentation here in the near future as well. But with that, again, Yo will give you some insight about the importance of business banker relationships.
I think the operative word there is a business banker. I'll just give you a quick story. The way the Small Business Development Center works, a lot of times we help you package your financials and to prepare you for a loan. So in one particular case, we had a client and we sent that package, if you will, with the client's permission to 3 different banks. The particular bank that they were personally banking with was not sent one. And they said, we want them included. We did that. 3 banks that we sent them to proposed on the loan. The 4th bank, their personal banker, did not propose. The client was distraught. And we were like, why are you distraught? What is this that's going on? Well, I've been banking with them. Yes, on your personal banking. You chose them based on a list, on a services, on their values, on what they offer for your personal financials. But that's not necessarily, as you move into the business world and also as your needs increase, that may not be the same institution that has the same products for your needs during that time. So I think the operative word there is that you need to choose a banker based on what you're trying to accomplish and where you want to go.
And along those lines, the family business I mentioned to you earlier was Ingram Equipment, and what I can share with you, Ingram Equipment, which has now been in business for 40 plus years, still operating as Ingram Equipment, we're no longer there, but that business would not have made it without professional banker relationships. So vitally important. Okay. One of the next important relationships in any business is to have a strong and an ongoing relationship with a property and casualty expert. So in the room with us again today is Lindsay Holmes, and she's with All Southern Insurance, and she'll be making a presentation in the future. But just a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Lindsay to have a refresher. In my line of work today, there's not a big need for me personally in property and casualty to the extent of other business owners. But I want to share with you a few things that is so vitally important for you to have in place in your business as it relates to property and casualty insurance. Bottom line is, P&C agency experts are there to protect your assets. They're there to protect you from potential risk in your business. Through their advice, and yes, through specially designed products, aka insurance, they protect your assets. Okay? So, what's important in your business as far as the products and the advice? Commercial general liability, very important. Commercial general liability, it's a slip and fall protection. It helps protect your business in certain products that you're involved in. It protects your operation. But it does not cover your employees, and do not think that commercial general liability covers everything in your business. There's various products and other products that you need. For instance, workers' comp insurance. It's there to protect the business in the event of an employee injury. It's there to help close the gap on medical expenses, and it's there to help for the compensation side of your employees when they're out of work due to injury. I can speak to you firsthand on that. In Ingram Equipment, we were a high-risk category. So workman's compensation was one of those big animals in the corner of the room every year. So we reviewed that on an ongoing basis. Other forms of insurance, commercial property protection, so vitally important. Fidelity insurance to protect your business from potential mistakes that you might make. For me, in my line of work, I have to have what's called E&O insurance, or errors and omission insurance. Some people refer to that as professional liability. That's needed if you are in the professional world to protect you from potential errors, mistakes, or omissions that you make. Mistakes happen. There's hiccups and hurdles along the way. So insurance products and advice are the ways to help you overcome those hurdles. A couple other forms of insurance that's important is surety bonds. In our line of work in the family business, we would bid on certain projects and we had to have surety bonds in place. A lot of people don't realize that you can get that through a P&C agency. Another one that is big this day and time is cyber security. Okay, what do you do to protect your business from hackers or people getting into your data? And there's actually going to be a presentation coming up on that in the very near future that Yale will sponsor, and I think Lindsay and a couple other people will join you on that as well. So, again, you know, insurance, it's a necessary evil. You've got to have it.
The way the PNC experts work together with everyone else is to help mitigate your risk tolerance. You need to know what your risk tolerance level is, and then they all work together as a gauge, if you will. If my risk tolerance is high, then they will develop all four working together, all those cornerstones working together will evaluate and structure your business according to your risk tolerance. So it is how much you actually, how you want to run your business and how much risk you want your business to take on. And the main thing is to be honest with every single decision that you're making about your business. You do not need to decide for yourself what that expert needs to know. They need to know everything. And the reason they need to know that is because your decision making in your business transactions translates into some type of risk that needs to be discussed before you move forward in your business.
Okay, so going back to the visual process, you know, the logo that I use. So far we've talked about having a good foundation, right? And we've established 4 solid cornerstones, those entities that you need a relationship with. So what we start moving now into is the actual process for business protection. So one of the first steps that we're going to suggest that you look at is having detailed conversations with all those entities about overall business protection. And that's a broad area. So we're talking about having the proper P&C coverage that we just talked about. You might want to consider having key person protection in place. Well, what is that? If you have a key person in your business who is vital to day-to-day operations, what happens to that business if they're no longer there? There's ways to protect from that. Personal experience that I had is we had a high-performing sales representative in Ingram Equipment, and all of a sudden one day he was out of the picture. We did not have key person insurance in place. What did that mean to me? I had to cover his territory personally, and it created a strain on the business, and there was a reduction in the revenue of the business for a couple of years until we got that position filled. So key person protection is very important. Overhead expense. A lot of business owners have never heard about this, but what if you, as the business owner, yes, a key person, if you become ill and you're no longer able to work, you're out of the business for an extended period of time, what happens? There are actually ways to keep the door open, and through proper planning, we can create a stream of revenue that keeps the doors open by paying the overhead, the payroll, the legal fees, the accounting fees. It will keep the doors open with the exclusion of paying you for personal income. Business valuation, so very important. And that's actually something that we can help you with, and I'll elaborate on that here in a moment. But knowing what that business is valued on a regular basis. If someone were to walk through the business stores and willing to write you a check, what would that check look like? Is it the right amount? How do you know? You need to go through a process to value that business on a periodic basis. What I can share with you from firsthand experience is that when we sold the business, we went through formal valuation, and that was done in 1998 to the tone of about $13,000 or $14,000. There are ways to value a business on an ongoing business without that expense, and we'll elaborate on that in a moment. Business contingency planning, so very important. Again, you have to think about the business. You've got to think about the beginning and the middle and the end in mind. So you're a business owner, and all of a sudden you're not involved in it, or you're thinking about the future. How do you parlay that business from a business asset into a retirement asset? You've got to work with your legal counsel, your accounting, and your financial advisors to make sure you've got the right business contingency or business succession plan in place. Those entities work together on your behalf to make sure you've got the right plan and you've got the end in mind. The next is throughout your business. I ask business owners a lot of time, well, why are you in business? Well, I want to make money, right? But it's also to provide a service that is needed in the community, and you want that service to continue to grow and be there. But it is about doing the right thing, not only for yourself, but for the community and providing a service. So you got to be good stewards. So the second step we talk about with our business owners and even individuals is what is proper cash management. Banking is so very important, but there are a lot of different tools that you can utilize to be good stewards in your cash management for your business. There's brokerage services out there. There are advisory services. And again, as you're growing that business, the assets of the business is growing, the value of the business continues to increase. So how do you transition that into a retirement asset? The next that I want to talk about is just, succession planning or contingency planning. As I say here, keep the end in mind. All right. You've got to have, if you have partners, you have got to have a buy-sell agreement in place. I cannot tell you how many times a year I work with startups or well-developed businesses that have partnerships and do not have a buy-sell agreement in place, or if they have one, there's often gaps in that planning. So that again is where your legal counsel needs to come into play to make sure that you've got the right buy-sell agreement in place.
Tell them about when that would come into play.
Okay, absolutely. Well, again, you think about having a business, there's triggers you got to think about. In the event that I'm no longer able to work due to illness or injury or sickness, what's going to happen to the business? How do we transfer our proper share of ownership throughout the partners and or make things right with the other partner's family? Other triggering events can be retirement. Here lately I've seen triggering events being cognitive impairment. Imagine being in a business and as we age, things change, right? And all of a sudden that partner that you have is not able to make good decisions. So that can be a triggering event. And then another event would be, of course, death. So you just need to make sure that your agreement addresses all of that, and there are ways to review that periodically and make adjustments. Would you like to add anything?
Well, I just want you to know that a buy-sell agreement does not happen when the trigger happens. The buy-sell agreement happens in the business planning, okay? So that is prior to any of this. And the timing of a buy-sell agreement in the pre-business, if you will, before you even go into business, when you're planning this out, that buy-sell agreement is it's easier, and everyone's on the same page, we're in the same songbook, and so that flows a lot better than waiting till a trigger happens, okay? You're in the same mindset when the agreement is made.
And again, from personal experience, I'm actually a succession plan for a senior advisor. We have a triggering event that's going to take place within the next couple of years. He's retiring. But our plan has been in place, and it's been a formal plan since 2004. We started talking about that years ago. And that plan has been funded, and I'll elaborate that in a moment more on that. But in the event that an unfortunate trigger took place, I had the assets and the means to take care of that business ongoing. Other things that a lot of businesses don't think about is DBO planning. Well, what is DBO? That is disability buyout. Again, if you have partnerships and then all of a sudden one of them's not able to show to work, what's the right thing to do? It's not it's not just about a death trigger, but if somebody's unable to work any longer, what's going to happen? And a lot of businesses don't have that plan. All of a sudden their spouse is showing up, occupying the desk, and they don't have a clue to run a business. So through proper planning, you can avoid those headaches. Again, ongoing valuation, because that valuation helps you in your contingency planning. Knowing whether you've got the plan properly funded is so very important. Okay, I threw this one in kind of the last moment, but as far as buy-sell agreements and business valuations, there are resources out there that you can utilize. We actually have a resource that's available, and I'll pass this around here in a moment. But we have a team of professional accountants and attorneys that can take existing buy-sell agreements and 3 years worth of business financials and give you a good heads up on what you could expect. A lot of people don't know this, but in the accounting world, there are 5 different formulas according to GAAP rules, and that's general acceptable accounting practices. There are 5 different models by which you can value a business, and each formula can be specific to the type of business that you're in. We have the ability to provide you that valuation so that it can help you in your proper planning. Okay, business transfer. Again, this really comes down to that triggering event, whether it be disability, retirement, or worst case scenario, death. How do we get the business transferred in a proper way to the surviving heirs or to other business partners? Bottom line is, this is where your legal counsel and your accounting counsel are so very important. They've got to be an integral part of that planning and the transition process. Anything you want to add?
No, that's good.
All right, again, using kind of a visual map here, our logo. We always like to think about the columns as being the how. You know, how does the legal counsel get things done? And this will give you some bullet points there. I'm sure Chris can elaborate much more, but again, the legal counsel needs to help you in your planning. A product that they can help you with is a proper buy-sell agreement. They can help you through litigation. Been there, done that. Estate plans. You know, if you have a very successful business, you may have an estate tax problem. You know, this day and time, there's a $10 million exclusion. If you're worth over $10 million, it's a shame that the federal government could get 50% of anything over $10 million. So having the proper estate planning in place by working with the legal counsel and your financial advisors can make sure that transition is done on a very tax advantage basis. Wills and trust, so very important, not only in business planning, but personal planning. Tell you how many times a month meeting with new prospects and clients that don't have it together. Get it done. It's so very important. Wills are vital, but more importantly, I like to encourage our clients to talk more in depth with their advisors about trust. I'm actually a trustee on a family trust, and then I have a trust in place for my own family, my boys. I've got different issues, so that trust allows me as an individual, along with my wife, to kind of create some rules to the ball game, so to speak. So have that conversation with your legal counsel about the importance of wills and trust. Get it done.
As far as business planning, do not forget about that operating agreement. Many times we think that whenever we are establishing that legal structure, that with our partners, if you will, or people we are in business with, that we understand each other and we don't need an agreement. Everyone needs an agreement. Did everyone hear that? Everyone needs an operating agreement with any other individual.
Okay. We go back to the cornerstone of the accounting. You know, very important relationship, but how do they get it done? Again, they help you with the legal structure. You know, are you in the right setup? We've actually seen some businesses who are set up as an LLC or an S Corp, and some of them are here recently making changes to a C Corp for one reason or another. I can't give you that advice and that guidance, but that accountant and that CPA can. They're there to help you with tax strategies, you know, to help you utilize code and minimize taxation just as much as possible. More importantly, they're there to help you to stay in compliance with the IRS and maybe the DOL. Department of Labor right now is so very active on retirement plans. So if you are an employer out there and you have a 401k plan or some type of retirement plan for your employees, compliance this day and time is a big deal. Actually, January 1 of this year, there's going to be new regulations coming out. So if you have not heard or had a conversation with your financial advisor about these products, you need to. Again, they help you with your tax filing, and it also can be integral to your overall estate plan.
Whenever you think about your business, many of our businesses are in growth mode here along the coast, and we are cash heavy for a certain portion of the year. I like to refer to as farming. We farm in the summer and then we go into our planning, etc. in the winter. But we are cash heavy in our businesses, and your accountant can help you understand what cash is in your business. It is the blood flow. And if you cause your business to have a heart attack because of the way that you are handling your cash, it could destroy your business from the inside out. Cash management and understanding cash and growth strategies come from that accountant for them to help you understand that flow within your own business and what that flow has to be in order for your business not only to survive, but to expand, and how you're going to do that. Many of us think, okay, I have this cash, I need to purchase these things. Not always. Cash is king, and having that cash can mean more to your business than anything else that you can do for it. So this accountant needs to help you with those growth strategies and understanding that cash flow analysis.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that a lot in the recent recession from 2008 to 2010. And those businesses that had proper cash management on the front side, those are the ones that were around. The people who did not manage cash prior to that effectively, a lot of those businesses went by the wayside, unfortunately. Okay, we're getting into, again, how do our business bankers help us? Again, it's really through they're providing the advice and the services of cash management. When we have need for capital improvement, we need new funds, where do we go? If we have a strong relationship with our business banker, they can help us out. They're there to help us with loans. Cash flow, and as Leo said, cash is king.
Ditto. Cash is king, and those advisors assisting you so that you understand what that means in your business.
Okay, and again, earlier we talked about the importance of having proper P&C relationships, making sure that your property and your assets are well protected from risk and asset management. So you see the bullet points there highlight some of those important things that you need to have in place. All right, before I go to the next slide, I mean, I hope even our individuals that might be watching can see that there's some similarities here that you can apply these principles and processes in individual planning as well. But today's focus is really on, business planning. So regardless of who we are, whether we're an individual or what type of business plan or business entity we are, I can promise you, we all have some type of financial concern. Throughout life or the life of a business, there's hurdles, there's things that we face. And the reality for all of us, the only way to overcome a financial hurdle during your lifetime is through proper planning, good advice, and the reality is normally it takes some type of product to make that happen. Think about it. From a legal aspect, we were talking about buy-sell agreements and contingency planning. From the insurance, we're talking about insurance coverages. The reality of this world, it takes a product to help us survive those downturns. So I'm going to kind of shift gears and show you kind of a process that you can think about. Whether you're in business or whether you're in an individual, bottom line again, cash is king, and it takes money to make things happen. Our number one asset to us all in this room and everybody that's watching, our number one asset is our health and our ability to work. If we don't have our health and our ability to work, where's the money come from? So from a business standpoint, if you have partners who become unable to work, there are again ways to protect that business in the event of disability. Actually, May in my industry is recognized as Disability Awareness Month, so we've been talking about this a lot this month. But in a business, again, the way you can protect yourself in the event of disability of yourself and or a partner or key person is to look at overhead expense protection. That is what keeps the doors open in the event of a disability. The DBO planning, having your buy-sell agreement address disability. And I can tell you, in most reviews that we do, I would say 90% of buy-sell agreements that we review do not properly address disability. Personal income, again, I mean, if you're a business owner and all of a sudden you're pulled out of the picture, what's right and fair? How do we keep a paycheck coming to our own household? So important for business owners, but as well as individuals. A lot of individuals don't even know that there's an opportunity or a way to even protect your retirement in the event that you become disabled. So imagine having a highly successful business in your 30s to your early 40s, and all of a sudden you're pulled out of the picture because of an illness or disability. How are you going to get through the next 40 years of your lifetime? There are programs and plans to protect you during retirement through the event of disability. The other way to look at this is all these products and services that we're talking about, they're important to us as business owners, but I can promise you, they're also important to your employees. Those employees are as concerned about their well-being as you are. So some of these approaches can be used to recruit, reward, and retain those employees, whether it be through individual plans or a benefit program. Next product, and this arc here really represents the how the advisor gets stuff done. But with any individual this day and time, we're all very concerned about health insurance. Okay? Health, again, is our number one asset. If we're not taking care of ourselves, how are we taking care of that business, and how are we going to take care of the people that we care about? So having that insurance in place helps us to get through that hurdle when the event happens. Not a matter of if. In your lifetime, it's going to happen.
You need to realize that whenever you're talking about disability, health, and vision, and those types of things, knowing that the actuaries are correct, they know about how many years are between, isn't that right, Lindsay? They know that you're going to have some type of incident every X number of years, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years within your business. Because once your business takes on that employee and that responsibility, if you will, for those other families, then these types of issues not only become what is about you, it's all about us and that company as an entity.
We're seeing this come into play more and more. As we age, again, our minds and all change. We're seeing, higher percentage of people going through cognitive impairment. So really long-term care planning in a business, there is a fit there. I don't mind sharing with you, long-term care planning and the products that are there to help you through that, it's an expensive proposition this day and time. It's quite honestly unaffordable to a lot of people, but there are other things that you can do with your proper guidance through legal counsel and accounting to help protect the business and or individuals for long-term care needs. All right, good old life insurance. That's the one thing a lot of people don't want to hear a lot about, but it's so vitally important. As it relates to business succession, I mentioned to you the importance of having an operating agreement or a buy-sell agreement. If you have partners, that plan, in my opinion, isn't worth the paper it's written on if there's not a funding mechanism in place. Now, you can get that funding without life insurance, but you think about it. If your partner all of a sudden and you've got a $6 million business and you've got to come up with $3 million, how are you going to do that? It's tough this day and time. Banking isn't what it used to be. There's new regs and things of that nature, but getting that type of cash is difficult. So having life insurance involved in your succession planning can be very important. The agreement I've had in place with the senior advisor, I've had him insured. He's now 73 years old. I've had a policy on him since 2004. So we preach and exercise, that it's important to have the right funding in place. You want to make sure that you've got the cash and the funding ready to go when that triggering event happens. Again, key person insurance. If you've got somebody that's crucial to the success of your business, we take care of everything else. The autos, the property. Why would we not take care of that individual and to replace the income stream that we rely upon? It also puts you in a position to maybe do the right thing for his heirs. So again, key person insurance is very important. From a personal standpoint, bottom line, life insurance is there for one reason. It's to help us take care of those that we care about, the spouse, the partner, the children, the grandchildren. I got grandkids in my life now. I can tell you, it's different. You want to do things for them. I don't have the cash to make my visions for them to take place, but I can tell you the life insurance is gonna make that dream happen. So life insurance can be utilized for a lot of different things. Anything you want to add there?
No.
All right, we'll get to the other side of it. As you can see on the left side of the arch, we kind of focus on the insurance products and things of that nature. On the right side, we always focus on the cash management and the investment tools. So again, whether you're an individual or a business, there are a lot of different ways to be a good steward of the cash in your business. Traditional banking, savings, fixed income strategies, there's a lot of different options out there. Another one is the brokerage services out there. If you're an employer, you may have a retirement plan in place for your employees, but at the same time, you got to think about your own retirement strategy, right? Well, the business itself can become a retirement asset through proper planning, right? And I can tell you this, I see businesses all the time that have been in place for 15, 20 years, it's a sole proprietorship, they get ready to retire, they close the door. Oh my goodness, what an opportunity. That value is not transitioned to somebody because they did not have the help to make it happen. If you're a sole proprietor, there's actually a concept out there called a no sale, buy sale. It's a method to transition the business even if you don't have that successor in mind. And those things can help you. We can direct you to that through, again, proper planning. For those who become successful in business, I can tell you, traditional retirement plans, you may not be able to set aside enough money for your retirement. You're limited by DOL and IRS guidelines. So there are other things that you can do. It's called non-qualified planning. So your accountant and your financial advisors out there can help you make sure that you're utilizing all the products and services out there to your benefit. The next comes up, it's employer plans. We kind of elaborated on that. I mean, if you're trying to set money aside for yourself, that's great, but it's a great recruiting tool as well. Just keep in mind that effective January 1, there are going to be some new rates coming out as it relates to this. It's all coming down from the DOL, and if you want to know more about that, give us or call your financial advisor to get some guidance. The last block I'm going to talk about again is just advisory services. And when I'm talking about advisory services, I'm not just talking about your financial advisor. Yeah, they can bring guidance and products and services. But think about those four cornerstones again. They are all advisors in some form or fashion. And the services and the products that they have to offer, that's what helps you to become successful. And that's what helps you keep that business going and keep the doors open.
I want to say something right there. I mentioned earlier that I work for the Alabama Small Business Development Center, and see that as a pool, if you will. We are advisors that are of no cost to anyone or individual, but in that is a pool of knowledge base that comes through online training as well as information, memos, research, financial data, as well as industry data, all available to you to help you do that due diligence for any of those advisory services.
Okay, so throughout the presentation, we talked about four important cornerstones.
Yes.
The legal, the accounting, the banking, the P&C, the financial advisors, all really important to have a good solid structure. But at the same time, you need to think about all of those advisors as a keystone.
Mm-hmm.
See that arch right there? Think about that stone. That represents, again, the legal counsel, the accounting counsel, the P&C counsel. If that stone's not there, what happens to that arch? It falls. The entire structure can fall. So your professional advisors out there, that team, together everyone accomplishes more. That team of professional advisors is what helps add to your value and the success to your business. And if you kind of follow that process, we kind of think that you get to walk through the narrow door of financial security. So with that, that's our presentation today. Without a process, as we know, well, I do have one thing I want to add. Without process, I almost forgot this. I'm going to borrow from Andy Andrews again. In that same book, Jones is talking to this person about process. And he says, if you see that the world is darkening, if you feel you're overwhelmed, maybe unorganized with lack of process, don't blame it on the dark. What's the first thing that you do when you walk into a dark room? You flip the light switch on, of course, and immediately the room is no longer dark. If darkness is winning the battles, it's because the light is not doing its job. You are the light. So Mr. and Miss Business Owner, we have to think about it. We are the light. We've got to wake up and we've got to explore the ideas that we share today. We've got to wake up and utilize the expertise around us. We've got to effectively partner with those who can help keep the lights on in the business. And with that, that's our presentation for today.
Any thoughts or comments or an area that you particularly came to hear about today that we didn't touch on? All right. You did such a good
Excellent
job.
information.
If not,
Good.
you got our
Good.
contact information here. If you have a
Yes.
need for us, Yo is such a great resource here in the community, and the Small Business Development Center that she's involved with. What a great resource. I wish we'd known about it when we had the family business.
Exactly.
But give us a call if we can help you out.
Thank you all.